Hello and welcome to another video by Johnny. Chào mừng các bạn một video khác của Johnny nha. So, you might have seen that I am doing a speaking practice with one of my student. He's actually not so new because he had learned with me like 2 or 3 years ago, and now his IELTS certificate expired already. So he has to retake the exam, and now he is here practicing speaking with us. What were your level of speaking last time, Mr. Drago Nguyen?
Well, my level was, I think I remember 6 point, I think.
6.0?
Yeah, 6.0.
Well, then let's just try to get up to 7.0, shall we?
I'll try my best.
Okay. Just try to be natural. Just be natural, you know? Right, so before we begin, I would like to thank Mr. Ngọc and his team, or anyone who has contributed to make these materials happen, okay? These prediction material. And I'm using this one because I'm such a lazy person, and I do not want to, you know, just make my own things. Because of course, I've been making a lot of videos. I don't want to spend my mental resource to make something that people has already done, you know. Okay, now we continue with part 1. Let's go to museum. So, Mr. Drago, do you like visiting museums and why?
Well, generally, I think museum is a good place for every visitor who would like to have the interest in exploring interest in looking for some new knowledge and information for the better research, or maybe if they would like to have the just a look at some of the new resources. I don't think that's an interesting point to visit the museum in terms of asking for the...
I think you're going out of topic now because this is not a long question, this is part 1, you know? So, okay, and you are going a bit out of topic these days. Okay, let's try again. Do you like visiting museums and why?
Yes, I like visiting museum because I think that place is the only location that has been containing.
That contains. Let's just say that contains.
Yeah, that contains the you know, like some of the past collection, I think, and some of the documents that I think that the later generation is still looking at in order to learn something to build the future.
All right. Now, so how often do you visit museums, Mr. Drago?
But in reality, I actually do not visit museum at all. If I know it is an interesting place to visit, but recently I used to visit. Recently, I used to visit the House of Commons in Canada.
Oh, it's the House of Commons in Canada.
Yes.
Let's just have a look here. So, what is so special about
Canada
it?
Is literally a parliament.
But what is so special about this House of Commons?
This place, even though I know this is the only place for every meeting of the member of parliaments, but outside, maybe in the lobby, they always have the galleries for the collections, the papers of the Constitution and the independence of Declaration of Canada before, and at the same time, and it was an important document that is called the Charter Right of Canada, signed by Queen Elizabeth II, and I think this is a good place that can be considered as a
Yeah, but I think you are going a bit out of topic again.
Yeah.
The question asks you how often you visit museum. They do not ask you to explain or describe a trip that you recently take to the museum, you know? You're going a bit out of topic again. Try to be careful.
No, this is an interesting topic I want to talk about.
Of course, I know, but try to stay focused. Okay,
Sure.
I know that sometimes we have a lot of things to say, but that can be our downturn. That can be our disadvantage. All right. Now, so are there any museums in your hometown?
I think there are a lot of museums in my hometown because Vietnam is a country that has a long history, and that is why most of high-profile leaders, they try to collect every single unique materials in the past in order to let the later generation to look at the past and learn how they are going to remember the traditional things in the country. Yeah, the traditional things in the country.
Oh, I see. Okay, so next question for you is, do you think there should be more museums in your hometown, and why?
I don't think that there should be more museums in my hometown because, like I told you, Vietnam right now is having a lot of museums somehow, and if we actually just focus on building more museums, I don't think that is going to be a good spending for the budget at all.
How come? Is it because museum costs a lot of funding, a lot of money to maintain them and to hire the employees and things like that?
Sure. And at the same time, there are some things in museum you actually cannot have automatically. You have to go to the auction market in order to get the highest price comparing to the other investor.
Sure. Okay. All right. Then we can go to the next one, which is called taking a rest. Nghỉ ngơi. Taking a rest. So, Mr. Drago, how often do you take a rest?
Well, generally, I don't take a rest at all. I just take 5 hours sleep at night. And I think that's enough for me because I always try to accelerate myself in a day.
Accelerate?
The best.
To accelerate? What do you mean?
Like just to make myself more supportive in terms of working in the day.
So you mean you're just trying to improve your physique, try to improve your workload, your productivity every day, yeah?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Do you take a nap when you are taking your rest? Like just sleeping for a little bit when you take a rest, or you just don't sleep at all?
In the day, I don't take the nap at all because I think I'm too busy to do that, and I just would like to try my best to stay awake in the whole day just to work because I've been outside for the whole day, and I don't think the office is a good place to take a nap.
Right, so you don't take a nap at all, even when you're in library inside of your school, for example? No?
No, I don't.
I see. Is it because the place is just not very suitable, like it's too crowded, it's often noisy or something?
Well, the thing is that for myself, I don't think that I can adapt the different environment to take a sleep. It's not easy for me to sleep outside my house.
So you are a picky sleeper. You're a picky sleeper, right?
I am.
Very picky.
Yeah, sometimes when I have to sleep at a whole good level.
Right, picky sleeper. I see. I'm a picky eater. So I have to pick the right thing to eat. So I'm a picky eater, and you're a picky sleeper. Wow. Okay,
That's
so
why I sleep. I don't sleep a lot.
That's bad because you need to sleep more in order to.
I try my best.
Yeah, you need to sleep more. To be honest, I need to sleep a lot. Now,
yeah, even though I don't take anything having caffeine at all, but well, sleeping is not actually in my timeline.
So tell me, how do you feel after taking a nap?
Well, I feel fine and just feeling them having more energy, and I think I can be working much better after taking a nap because mentally. I can be taking like taking a look much sharper and just calculate more effectively.
Right. So you can do more calculation. You can have a better, sharper mind after taking a nap. I see.
Yeah.
Scientifically speaking, we should take a nap because basically, one day in a day, you need to sleep 2 times. I mean, that's the best. Now, so next question, is it important for you to take a rest every day?
I think it is a kind of interesting question for this, but in my opinion, I don't think that we should take a rest every day. I think it's better to take a long sleep at night, but taking a rest every day during the day, I don't think that is a good time because I think that's a waste of time in my opinion.
Right. Taking a rest every day here, I think it means that you take a rest after every hours, but every day you do that, I think.
Yes.
Okay, so talking about taking a rest, do you think that people these days, they work too much and rest too little? What do you think?
I think it is generally right. They can be working too much and resting too little. But if I have to compare the present to the past, I think people in the past, they sleep less than that. So I think right now people have the better choice to rest, and like most of the companies right now, they always have the timetable for the employees to take a rest.
It's called deadline, Oh, a timetable, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think right now it's better for people to take a rest because most companies, they think about that.
I see. Right. So it's a policy of the companies to make employees rest more in order to improve productivity. Am I right? Right, and also to prevent.
For my experience before, when I was working in a warehouse, sorry. So my boss said that after only 45 minutes, you can rest 15 minutes. I don't think that's too much. Come on.
It's actually the exact same time when we talk about lessons in when you were in the school system of Vietnam, did you? And after every period of 45 minutes, you have some time to rest. Remember that?
Well, yeah, it's just a kind of exchange between courses and the time. So I think it's gonna be 5 minutes something. Yeah.
Okay. Right. So talking about farms and farming is the next one, which is weird. Like, what would happen if the person is not interested in farming at all? It could be a weird question anyway. But let's try to answer it. Now, farms and farming. Oh my god, I look so old today.
No, you're not.
Maybe I need to dye my hair again. And I'm just old anyway. Now, let's talk about farms and farming. Farming is the act of feeding the cattle, having cattle, killing them for meat, and then of course growing plants, growing rice, growing things, and feeding people in the city. That's called farming. Chuyện làm nông. And farms are basically just boring places you can see. Anyway, so have you visited a farm before?
Yes, there was a time that I had a visit to an Amish community. So where they only roast some of the foods at the same time, they at the same time isolated themselves from the technology. That's why they did the whole things in our agriculture. Therefore, I saw that like they also feed the cow. They grow the trees.
Grow trees and plants, feed the cows, and
the interesting point is that like they do not actually sell anything to grow the capital funds. They just simply grow their own food and they eat their own food.
I see.
Amish community.
I see. So tell me, what can you do on a farm? Like, what can a person do on a farm?
Well, there was a time that I just, like I told you, I visited the Amish community, and I just asked them like, could I try to do your job? And they assigned me to work as a, I have to say, as a cowboy. So
a cowboy?
They just let me have some like accessories. At the same time, when I go to the place where they have the cows, and they just told me like, okay, what I need you to do is to just feed the cows, and I was just feeding them. And when they were eating like that, I could not actually suffer the smell that they were wasting. That is why I found that, but that is an interesting job. If I have to do it for the long term, I think it could be a choice I can make.
Okay.
Just feeding the cow.
Just feeding the cows, I see.
Yeah.
Now, right, how about taking care of the cattle, you know, like helping, for example, helping cleaning the cages? You can actually do that. Help cleaning the cages.
Well, yeah, I never tried the job, but I think I can do that. Yeah.
Sure.
Cleaning the cages.
Cleaning the cages, maybe applying antibiotics to cows.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't think you should do that, because that is for specialists. You know, because when you stick a needle to a cow, the cow will kill you. I mean,
I know, like, for example, if you actually stay behind the cow, they can kick you, you know?
Exactly,
like
cows are actually dangerous too.
Yeah, they can be like a horse sometimes. They can kick you from behind.
Applying antibiotics on cow, just look at this one. You can see the cows, they have to be kept under such a kind of cage like this, you know, so they cannot move. And then the person is gonna stick the needle into them. Oh my god, I can't imagine how much pain. The cow will be like, more, you know. And of course, they apply antibiotics to cow because to prevent the spread of disease, you know, like can kill the cows. But of course, the antibiotics residues, you know, the thing that stay after you kill the cow, of course there will be some antibiotics left. These are called antibiotic residues, and it stay in the meat of the cow.
Interesting.
In the beef, I mean in the beef.
Yeah.
And of course that will cause some problem of concern, some concerns to human consumption. Okay, so what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's an interesting point in order to provide the beef for the human right now.
Okay.
And somehow I know some people from the, you know, like environmental activists, they can be kind of concerning about that. But I think right now for the demand of providing the beefs for the humans, I think that is still a choice that we have to make.
So let's say the last one we were talking about, it's applying antibiotics to cows or animals. You know, chicken, even the chicken, you can apply antibiotics to them as well, you know, to prevent like the spread of diseases and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so it has been a growing concern, health concern. Okay, now, so do you think farming is important?
Yes, I think farming is very important for for an economy of a country. You know, like every nation needs the agriculture department, or I mean like industry.
Industry.
Because
industry.
Industry, because that is the only place that will provide the natural and the fresh products for the human. So
Okay, these are markets, farmers markets, something like that. Okay, you know the word produce, right? Produce, you know that word? Produce.
No, I didn't use.
Produce means it is made out of the farm.
Produce.
Sản vật nông nghiệp. Produce means like it's something that is made out of the farm. For example, meat of animals, or vegetables, and all the thing you can grow. These are called produce.
Yeah.
But when you talk about products, it actually includes everything.
Yes.
Including like including produce from the farm, and the thing you can manufacture from the factory as well. So products is like everything.
Yeah.
Okay, produce là sản vật nông nghiệp, còn products là sản phẩm nói chung. But when you talk about things made from the factory, you say products, okay? Okay, now do you think farming is important?
Yes, I think farming is important because that is the only industry that will produce the agricultural demands for an economy of a nation.
Right, so without farming, what would happen? Can you think of a possible consequence of that?
So the only consequence that I can say is that the federal government has to spend more money to buy the products, the agricultural products from outside the country. So I think it would be a waste of money. Why can't we just do it in your country?
Right, I see. But do you know something about an sinh lương thực? You know something about food security?
Yes.
Security.
Just a little. I'm not an expert in that, but somehow I know.
Of course. Basically, they say that if you don't eat, you don't work. You know that, right?
Sure.
So it means that farming produce like the food to feed the whole nation. So without a good farming system, the whole country have to import food from other countries, and that would be costly.
Yes.
Also, what if other nations refuse to sell food for you? The whole country would become hungry, and war and even civil war could break out because of food, you know? Food security and
generally the country that only sells agricultural products and just for themselves, but not for international countries.
You mean international market? International market.
Like international market. They can be called the banana republic country.
Ah, I see. But my point is, food security is important. You can make a country go starving, and the economy would collapse because of that. If you don't take care of food security, you know, cái an sinh lương thực nó cực kỳ quan trọng nha. Nguy hiểm nó liên quan đến an ninh quốc gia đó. It's basically food security is related to like the national security, you know. Because think about it, what would happen if, say, Chinese people purchasing like a lot of food from Vietnam at a high price? If the farmers become very how can I say, hungry for money, what would happen if the farmers, they just sell everything at a high price? Of course, they have lots of money, right? But there would be no food left for the local market, for the Vietnamese people to consume. What would happen next? Starvation, famine.
Sure.
And that would destroy the country very quickly. So that's why I say food security is a very important thing.
But somehow I think it can depend. It can depend on different nations. You know why? because in Vietnam somehow there are some of the areas that are nationalized for the agricultural industry only,
So
and that's why they manage the import and export of the amount of foods that it can be sold.
right? So you mean like some areas they are nationalized? What it means like people cannot sell these things because it's nationalized, right? It becomes a public property, right?
The private companies can be working in those areas, but the decision to sell how many amount, the decision to sell like
not decision, decision. The decision. The decision.
The decision to
decision.
To sell or export and import will be made by the government.
Right, I see. So in that way, they control the amount of food being sold to other countries, right?
Yeah.
And keeping the national food security in check, keeping something in check.
Sure.
Giữ kiểm soát một cái điều gì đó, keeping something in check. Alright, so next question is: are there any farms in your hometown that you know of? Are there any farms in your
That was the
hometown?
time that I had a visit to my grandmother's hometown,
Yes.
which is Nha, and I think it was an interesting place for the farmers. I mean before, but right now I don't know. So there was a time that I had a visit to the cucumber farming place. So I found that most people working there, they actually explained to me how cucumber were grown.
Cucumber were grown.
Were grown. At the same time, those products,
grown.
yeah, grown.
Were grown.
So they also explained that how those cucumber would be packed and exported.
Okay.
And that's an interesting experience. I used to visit my hometown as a farming place.
Right. Most of these things can be grown easily. I mean, for them, not for us, because we are citizens. We are urban people, so we're not farmers anyway. Okay, so
really.
now let's go to the next topic, which is called bargain.
Bargain.
Yes, bargain. So, you know what bargaining is, right? Mặc cả trả giá.
Yes, I know.
Bargaining, okay. So, what do you think of bargaining?
I think that in the free market, I think bargaining is still a choice that every purchaser can make.
Purchaser.
And I think that's okay.
You mean every consumer or customer?
Yes. So I think like most buyers can make the bargaining decision in terms of buying the best price for the demand, because that's a free market. So I think there's no restriction about that.
Right. See, so but basically, do you think the act of bargaining is something morally good? Like, is it something wrong about it? Like, is it morally good? Về mặt đạo đức, cái chuyện mà mặc cả giá tiền á, you think it's actually good?
I think that is okay. You know why? Because in different areas of a nation, the taxation in those locations can be different. So the same products can be sold with a higher price than the other places. Therefore, the buyers, when they come to the place that they found out, how come this products can be higher than the other places? So they can actually do the bargaining decision about that.
Right. So let's talk about. So where can people bargain and why? You know. Like for example, let's look at like market, supermarket, shop, something like that. In the airplane, I don't think people can bargain with the people on the airplane, right?
I don't think this way will allow people to bargain.
You cannot bargain on the airplane. No,
people can do that in some of the local markets. Somehow, yeah, they can do that.
Let's check it out if you can do that. Bargaining on the airplane. Let's just say
if you want, but I don't think they are going to be accepted.
Oh my god. I'm not so sure if you can really do that.
No. Not do that.
Anyway, so where can people bargain, Mr. Drago?
I think the local market is a good place for the people to bargain, because that place, you know, like those people, they open the different counters to sell the products. So, and that place is very hard to manage the certain amount of prices that can be eligible for the market price. Therefore, when the buyers, they have the chance to get to the local market, they can make their own, you know,
they're making their own
decision.
Their own
kind of products based on their understanding on the market.
Right.
If they found that it's not so comfortable for what they are buying. Yeah.
Right, not so affordable for what they buy. Not so affordable, không có dễ dàng trả tiền lắm đâu. Not very affordable for what they are buying.
Affordable for what?
Okay, so why can't people bargain in the supermarket? What do you think?
You mean why cannot people bargain?
Why can't people bargain in the supermarket? What do you think?
Well, because that place, it has the different barcode.
There are different barcodes in there. Okay, it has.
Yeah.
Okay, that place there are different kind of barcodes.
Yeah, different barcodes in every product. So those prices are set, you know, like originally based on the market price.
Yeah.
So there's no place you can bargain there.
And also the employees working there, they are not the ones selling these products. They're just workers for that supermarket. And they are not the one who deal with selling these things. Even the cashier,
not the owners of the products they're selling, right?
They're not the owners.
Yeah.
Even the cashier, you cannot bargain with the cashier ever.
No way.
No way. Okay, the only way I think, yeah, the only thing I can think of is maybe the supermarket can give you discount because some food might be near to the expiry date, you know.
Yeah, well, there's always a reminder that okay, we are having 50% discount right now, so well, you can choose.
But eat it now, not tomorrow. Eat it now, not tomorrow. It's like that. Like for example, cakes, pastry, cakes. You have to consume it in a day, otherwise, next day you eat it and you have stomachache.
Yeah. Gonna become spoiled.
When I was a poor student, of course, I often search for these discounts, but I have to eat immediately. Oh my god.
I know that kind of feeling.
Well, at least they have provided 50% discount. Otherwise, the supermarket will have to throw away all of these food. You know.
Yeah, those ways.
And that's bad. Okay, so how do you bargain? Let's just take an example. If you go to a shop, let's say, if you go to a shop to buy clothes, or say, let's just say clothes shop. Okay. Some shops, they are basically small shops and people can bargain there, but how do you bargain? Give an example, can you?
Interesting. So, okay, even though I have never bargained in any local shops, but there was a time that I bought an insurance policy. So there was a time that I tried to make a deal with the insurance broker. So that at a time that when after the insurance broker calculated the whole price for myself, and I found that okay, so can I actually exclude some of the protections from the insurance? So he just said that okay, if you are trying to eliminate those kind of protection, it can be risky for you. I say okay, I'm okay by that. I just need some of the certain protection in my insurance policy. Therefore, he just abolished some of the protections, and I just make a lower price for the policy that I pay for the insurance.
Wow, that sounds very high up, very advanced. But I don't think you should answer too high advanced in this question at all. Anyway, let's move on to part 2 and 3. Okay, topic number 9. Describe a kind of weather you like. Một loại thời tiết mà bạn thích. You should say what kind of weather it is. Nó là cái kiểu thời tiết gì thế? And then when this weather usually occurs, nó thường diễn lúc nào? What you usually do during this weather. Bạn thường làm gì trong cái thời tiết này? Explain why you like this weather. And you have part 3 questions. What kind of clothes do people wear in summer? Con người ta thường mặc đồ gì vào mùa hè? What is the least favorite season for you? Cái mùa mình ít ưa thích nhất là cái mùa gì? Tại sao? What types of weather are suitable for outdoor activities? Loại thời tiết gì thì phù hợp với những hoạt động ngoài trời? What's the most typical weather in your country? Cái loại thời tiết điển hình nhất trong đất nước bạn là thời tiết gì? Like, and then you try to explain like different regions, like what kind of thing can you see? What can people do? You know. All right. Let's just focus on this one for 2 minutes. Okay. 2 phút bắt đầu. Okay, you can begin with the part 2 now. Describe a kind of weather you like.
There is a weather that can only occur in 3 months every year that I like the most.
Yeah.
Which is called fall. So
Say
I
again?
think fall, F-A-L-L.
Fall weather. Oh, I see.
Fall, yeah, fall.
Right, I see. So this kind of weather is when the leaves
Yes,
are
that's
red
what
and things like that.
how it looks like in Canada
Ah.
in fall. Yeah, that's how it looks like in Canada in fall. The maple leaves.
And what else?
So I think like fall is the only weather that I can wear the most beautiful suits that I'm having right now because I cannot wear them. Shoes.
Most beautiful shoes. Pairs of shoes. It's
No,
called pairs
like,
of shoes.
I mean like the jacket, like the suit.
You mean suit?
Yeah,
suit.
suits.
Yeah, suit.
Yeah, I'm not saying shoes. Because those kind of shoes cannot be worn in summer at all because it's too hot. And I found that like every year, fall only happens in every October, from October until December.
Every October, right?
From October until December, and that is the only weather I can wear the most beautiful clothes outfits for myself.
Oh, really? Okay, is that all?
At the same time, there's always a good time to have any business meeting because at a time, every of my partners are very comfortable in terms of, you know, setting the meetings to have the chats and business talks.
Okay, business talks. I see. It's cool enough. It's not too cold, not too hot either. It's just in the middle.
Not too cold at all.
And I think it's
sort of
perfect.
cold, it's sort of windy sometimes because you find that in Canada is kind of like it's very famously known as a winter country. Therefore, even in fall, there can be very cold winds happening sometime.
Right.
Therefore, I would encourage people to wear some of the the waistcoat Yeah, like the vest. Yeah, inside.
Vest, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, next question. It's part 3. What kinds of clothes do people wear in summer?
In general, I think most people they just only wear a t-shirt and a pair of jeans in summer. Usually, I can say that. But if I have to look at some of the older people who are much more stylish, they tend to wear the tropical wool.
The tropical what?
So, wool, WOOL.
WOOL. Wool.
Yeah.
Len.
Yeah, wool. Yes, tropical wool.
Is something called tropical wool, really?
Yes, they have. You know, like in the time of colonial French in Vietnam before, most of the French people they wore the shoes of made by tropical wool.
Oh, I never noticed.
Yeah,
Really? Is it cool enough?
It is actually very kind of cool somehow. Yeah, it's not actually like containing the heat in your body.
So it lets the heat out very easily.
Yeah. It does.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's tropical wool.
Anything else?
And at the same time, I can see some of the older people are very interested in just wearing the these pair of shorts just for traveling around.
Okay. Now, so what is the least favorite season for you?
I think the least favorite season that I don't like so somehow is the winter, because every single year in Canada, winter is not supposed to be like Vietnam, that you only need to wear a jacket and you will be fine. But in Canada, there will be very freezing weather.
I love this color, I love this color of the weather of the mountains and everything else.
Yeah, I know the color looks very interesting, but it's not fitting so well when you're in it. Because if you only let your hand out of the clothes,
oh my god,
your hands will become freeze.
It will become freezing. It will become freezed, and because the weather is freezing. Yeah.
So there was a time that I was just letting my ears outside the hat. So only about 15 minutes, I was feeling like my ears was like cracking.
Of course, because it's so cold.
It was not a good feelings at all. And if it actually happens in some other parts of my body, I don't think winter is a good choice of the weather I like.
Okay.
So you have to be wearing very heavily with the winter jacket, at the same time winter trousers, even the hat covering your ears, and the very, very well prepared gloves.
Well prepared gloves. Okay, good. So you don't like this weather because of the cold, I see.
Yes.
Right.
I don't like.
So what types of weather are suitable for outdoor activities?
Certainly, I think most people would agree with me that summer is always a good weather for outdoor activity, because that is the only weather that people can be comfortably wearing the sport clothes, just hanging outside, and they can be attending every single activity, such as camping or just survival skill meetings. And if they are interested, just simply taking a walk around, like the field trips.
Okay.
I think it would be a good choice in the summer.
Okay. Good choice in the summer. Perfect. Now, so what are the most typical weather in your country? In your country, so we talk about Vietnam now.
Yeah, in my country, weather. Vietnam. Yes. So the typical weather in my country, Vietnam, because I was born in the south, and for the last 18 years, I only know that most cities in the south will have the That's a very interesting point because I was thinking about summer. I know Vietnam is very hot in the south, but you are posting on the photos of raining right now.
Well, basically, you can say in the south. Yeah, two main seasons,
very
right?
hot. Yeah, seasons, and I think that's another way it can be called as a raining season sometimes. Yeah,
It is.
so summer and rain.
Yes,
So-
it's a rainy season.
Most people they actually are not so comfortable with the heat of Vietnam because but if they actually wear just simply a t-shirt and just a short, that would be not a good choice too because like I told you, Vietnam can be like the 40 Celsius. So
40
it
degrees
can
Celsius, right? 40
Yes,
degrees
it can-
Celsius.
40 degrees Celsius. So it can burn your skin at the same time. You will
Yes.
become very tense
Oh
somehow.
my god, it's like sunny season in Vietnam, just horrible. It's just so sunny, it's so hot. You feel like your whole body is evaporating.
Yes, exactly. So
Feeling
you will be
like-
wearing like a ninja outside.
Like a ninja. Now, next question, topic number 10. Describe a time when you got close to wild animals. Miêu tả một cái thời điểm mà bạn đã gần với động vật hoang dã. You should say where you were, what the animals were doing. Mấy con động vật đã làm cái gì. Who were with you? Bạn đã ở với ai? And explain what your reaction was. Cái phản ứng của bạn khi nhìn thấy con nó là gì. Be careful, past tense. And then part 3, what are the differences between animals in zoos and those in the wild? Sự khác biệt với động vật trong sở thú và động vật ở trong hoang dã là gì? Let's think about their living conditions. Think about their say lifestyle because they were born and raised in there, so obviously they behave differently, right?
Yes.
Behaviors. Talk about behaviors. You can talk about like what else? Medical treatment that they receive. Like, of course, they are well cared for by humans, and not that it's in the wild. They don't have to be worried about getting killed, become predators or prey.
Sure.
Okay, there can be many other things. And the next question is, why should the staff, remember, staff is uncountable, okay? Staff không đếm được nha. So that's why we have to use member of staff to count them. Member of staff. The question is, why should the staff in the zoos teach the public about animals? Tại sao nhân viên trong sở thú cần phải dạy cho công chúng về động vật? Think about like raising awareness, or maybe just to basically improve the knowledge in general, something like that. Why are people keen on feeding animals? Let's just fix this one. It's animals, okay? Why are people keen on feeding animals in the zoo? Do you know feeding animals in the zoo, if you are one of the guests or customers, it's forbidden.
Yeah.
Because you might endanger yourself. What if the elephant just suck away the food and it also sucking your hands and things like that? It would be extremely dangerous.
I know. That is very dangerous.
So, but the question is, why are people keen on feeding animals in the zoos? And the last question is, how can the increase of the human population influence wild animals? Làm thế nào một sự gia tăng về dân số con người có thể ảnh hưởng đến động vật hoang dã? Okay.
Wow.
That will
Last
be
question.
a lot of, yeah, that will be a huge question that requires a lot of thinking, I think. Okay, 1.5 minutes for you now. Okay, let's do it. Describe a time when you got close to wild animals. Please. Be careful with the past tense. Past tense.
Sure. There was a time that I had a chance to visit an island, which was called the Monkey Island in Nha Trang, actually. So I think this is a famous place that most visitors can be visiting, an interesting place. But be aware that those monkeys on the island are not in the cages, and they are not locked.
They're freely.
They are not locked at all.
They're
So
freely open.
there was a time when I was only about 5 or 6 years old, long time ago, and when I just tried to approach those monkeys because they actually look kind of like cute, in my opinion, and I tried to just let them have the banana in hand, and they were actually aggressively attack myself because they think that like I was going to like approach their children.
You mean harming the children?
Yeah, harming the children. So therefore, they were trying to chase me around the place, but fortunately, my parents were there, and they just said, just throw the banana to them and just go away. And after doing that, they stopped chasing me, and I found that it was an experience I found very scared.
Very scared. Of course, you should be scared.
Animals are not actually in the position of thinking who they are chasing. They just simply found that like if there's someone or any kind of strangers approaching their place, they would try to defend themselves immediately.
Okay. Think about a gorilla.
Gorilla. I never saw them outside. I don't think we have Gloria.
It has to be one of the ugliest apes I've ever seen.
King Kong.
Yeah. Orangutan. You know this one? Orangutan. Cái con màu cam cam. Orangutan is the orange apes.
Orangutan.
The orangutan.
I think this one is much less aggressive than the others.
I think so too.
Yeah, they're much friendly. I used to approach them outside. They are much friendly.
They're much friendlier. Yeah. Okay, now tell me. So, what are the differences between animals in the zoos and those in the wild?
There are few differences between the animals in the zoos and the wild. Is that the way that they are trained, but the animals in the wild, like let's say forest, they are not actually trained. They actually only making the behavior based on how they live in the life, such as just defend themselves when there are any strangers approaching their place. And there's another difference is that like most of the animals in the zoo, they are in the cages, so there's a certain border between the visitors and the animals, so they actually just limit the dangers between the people and those wild animals, because simply those animals in the zoos, they can be somehow wild, but they are just in a cage, so they're just protection. So
of course they are very wild and dangerous to humans too. They can
and
kill
the people,
you.
yeah, and the people who are actually interested in let's say stay or to have any activity in the forest with the wild animals, most of them they are hunters, so they actually have the guts to do that. That's the difference between them.
Okay, very good. Now, talking about like medical treatments and food, what do you think that these cage animals receive compared to the wildlife? Of course, in the wild, life can be very tough, right?
Yeah, I know. Like most animals in zoos, they are actually. I think they are fed much better than the animals in the in wild, because actually every single year they have the medication from the experts. At the same time, those medication can be supporting their health very very well, in my opinion, and it can, let's say, expand the longevity, I think, and just
longevity.
Yeah, longevity.
I see.
So somehow it can making them look much interesting. I mean, interesting means like they can be look fit.
They can look fitter. They can look more muscular. They can be more attractive, maybe.
Look more attractive somehow. Yeah. But most of the animals in the wild, they are just having like let's say meal on. I will take an example on the lion. If the lion in the zoo, they can be having medication and certain kind of food. But in the wild, the lions, they just tend to find the other animals to eat.
Of course, they prey on other animals.
Yeah.
They hunt or they prey on other animals.
And the way that like the animals in the wild eat can be more aggressive than the animals in the zoo.
Of course, they don't have to wear like special clothes to eat, and they don't eat with plates, They don't eat with plates. Anyway, next question is, why should the staff in the zoos teach the public about animals?
I think that is a good job for the staff to teach to the visitors about the animal that they are looking at, because that is the basic knowledge that the visitors should know in terms of the real life. Let's say, for example, if one of those visitors has a chance to go to the forest or just go for hunting, at least they know the certain behavior of the kind of animal that they're hunting, that they will know what to do in terms of like approaching those animals.
I see. Right. So you mean the public will be well informed, and they will be more well behaved, right? If they are taught the knowledge how to deal with the animals, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
Right. So what do you think about raising awareness of the public in order to protect wild animals? Like, of course, the staff in the zoos, of course, they encourage or they inform the public about wild animals, also to raise awareness too, So in a way, they actually helped the conservation of the wild, to raise awareness of the public,
Well, even though I'm a very pro-business person, but in my opinion, if there's any staff teaching the public about raising awareness of conservation to the wild animals, is very necessary. That act is very necessary, because I think that like the wild animals should have the right to live, even though they can somehow aggressively attack the others. But if we have to look at the reality, they are just trying to defend themselves from the territory that they are staying in. Like the
territory, from the territory.
Yeah, like a human. If there's any stranger trying to approach our territory, we will have to do something to defend ourselves. So
to defend our territory, to defend our land. Yeah, it's like that.
So if there's any teachings on awareness of the conserving the wild animals, I think that's always a good choice. And they should be teaching the limitation of any kind of immoral business, such as just simply hunting the wild animals just for making a bag, something like that. I don't really support it at all.
Of course, there has been certain stories of celebrities or very rich people hunting like endangered animals, and they're posting these pictures on social media, and of course the public is enraged. They are very angry. The public become very enraged because of these behaviors. So what do you think about that situation?
Well, in this story, I would be siding with those celebrities who have the pictures of hunting activities, because hunting activity is simply a licensed activity by the government, and it actually does not widespreadly hunt down the whole species. So when there's any kind of people who are actually angry with that, I think that's their right to be angry, but they should be focused on those businessmen or business people who are trying to hunt down every single animals from certain species in order to build business, such as making the bag, making the bells, or just simply having the skin in order to do some things for their own thing.
Okay, good. Now, so you side with the celebrities and people that they keep hunting, and you say that this is their own business, but these animals are endangered animals, you know? They are protected by international laws. You have to understand that.
Yeah, at the same time, the hunting activity is licensed by the government too.
But most of these cases, they hunt for endangered animals, and these animals are very few in numbers already. Like, think about it.
The few numbers of the animals right now, I'm not saying that I will be supporting hunting the animals right now, but I know that because the reason why the numbers of the wild animals are decreasing right now is because of the widespread business in terms of hunting for business. That is not a good thing at all, because hunting for business, what it means is like you just try to hunt the animals just for making accessories for sales around the world, and that will be the only way that has been killing every single year huge number of animals. But hunting is just a licensed activity, and it's not actually a widespread activity that would be damaging the species at all. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Okay. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Actually, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong, but okay. Next question is, why are people so keen on feeding animals in a zoo, even though that activity is prohibited? What do you think?
This is interesting psychological behavior from the visitors. I say, because in general, human tends to think that those animals will become very friendly and adorable to anyone who feeds them. And I think that is, I think, in my opinion, I think that is a humanistic mind. But in reality, there are certain animals which are very aggressive when they are catching something. So I think that, like, for my opinion, I don't really support feeding animals at all, because they can attack themselves.
They can endanger you.
Okay.
They can endanger you. You might think that these animals are endangered species, right? But you are the one who actually get endangered because you feed them.
Yeah.
So they can endanger you. Okay, obviously you should never do that. So you think it's a psychological thing, because humans are humanistic. They think that feeding this animal will help them to have a better life, or it's just a natural behavior.
Yeah.
A caring behavior of humans,
Yeah.
Okay, but of course that can endanger themselves, so that's why the zoos
prohibit. I made a appointment. I made the opinion for the reality. That's not for that at all.
You should never do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, next question is, how can the increase of human population influence wild animals? Think about urbanization, deforestation, all these things you learned before.
Well, in this question, I would answer in a different way a little bit from many people.
Okay, please.
Even though some people can be making the opinions on urbanization, or destroy the forest to build cities, something like that. That is, that's a topic for many people who are talking about too much. And in my opinion, the reason why the human population will influence the wild animals is that, as we know,
no, I don't know.
In this modern era, right? So in the free market, there are a lot of like let's say clothing stores which are selling the products made by the wild animals, and the business
You mean
from
leather goods? Leather
Yes.
goods, like what I'm doing?
yes, yes, you are doing. I don't want to mention you. Okay. That is
Okay,
why
I feel bad now.
So I found that like those kind of business is booming. I'm saying
Mhm.
again, booming. So the those kind of business can be very potential for. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm supporting that, but can be potential for many business people because human they tend to be very interested in owning the
Owning,
natural
owning.
owning a naturally
Own,
made product.
owning.
Owning.
Okay.
They can be very interested in naturally made products. So for example, when people think about a watch, they always think about the leather band straps for the watch. They don't really think about like let's say just simply plastic. And if we think about a bag, they always think about, let's say, alligators bags, or let's say the panther skin bag. Or when I think about a bell for the suit, they will think about the leather belt.
Okay.
That's why I find those kind of businesses are still booming so strongly. And the higher human population, the more demand using those kind of products, it would be the huge influence on the wild animals right now.
Right, of course this will be a lot of influence, but mainly for the worse, isn't it?
Yes.
Of course, mainly for the
That's
worse.
why I never own any of that.
You never own any of that, of course.
I don't.
Alright, so...
Even the bell I use is made of plastic,
Well, plastic, fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a braided bell. I don't use the the calcium bell.
Well, how about using artificial leather, You can do that. Da nhân tạo, artificial leather, you can do that.
I never saw that.
It's called simile.
Oh yeah?
Simile.
Interesting.
Artificial leather, they suck anyway. They're not that great. Of course, they don't have the durability. Like, it's not very durable compared to real leather.
Even though I don't like the products from the leather or something like that, but I like the products from commodity like gold or silver.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Always.
Okay, now let's go to the next topic. Describe a time you made a promise to someone.
Oh my god.
Miêu tả một thời điểm bạn đã hứa hẹn ai đó. Like for example, hứa với thầy Hơn được 7 chấm. Like for example.
I will be higher than that.
Of course, you should get 7.5 or something.
Yeah. To make you
Now,
proud.
Of course. You should say what the promise was, to whom you made it. You made it to whom. Làm cái lời hứa đó với ai. Yeah. And whether it was easy or difficult to keep. Liệu có khó hay có dễ hay khó giữ lời hứa đó không? Explain why you made it. Tại sao bạn lại làm cái lời hứa đó? And then you have part 3 about promises. What kinds of promises do people often make? Con người ta thường hứa hẹn cái kiểu như thế nào? Thường hứa hẹn những loại hứa hẹn như thế nào? Like for example, you can think about promises like love promises. I will love you to the end of time. That's what. Love promises to children. Like if they behave well, you buy toys for them. Oh my god, I see that all the time.
Yeah, lying.
Lying this is more like lying instead of promises.
No one can do that also.
Okay, and you can talk about promises whether a project is going to be done in time, but most of the time it doesn't. So
because naturally the people that tend to pursue the happiness when they are young, but when they have the happiness, they will tend to pursue the freedom. So that's actually those kind of can be opposite, right?
Just don't promise. Just don't make a promise at all. I don't promise that my students gonna get like 6.5, 7 or something. I don't promise. Because how can I keep a promise when they don't learn well, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's impossible to keep that promise.
You get to 5.
Now, so next question. Do parents in Vietnam make promise to their children? Cha mẹ ở Việt Nam có hứa hẹn cho nhỏ của họ không? Do children keep their promises? Trẻ nhỏ có giữ lời hứa của chúng không? You promise you will sleep early. You promise you get a high grade. You promise. Always. Always. Why do some people
no deals?
Why do some people fail to keep their promises? Tại sao một số người lại không thể giữ nổi lời hứa của họ?
Because there's no deal. I just promised, but there's no deal for my interest. How can I?
You know, as a Sagittarius, you are the one who promised a lot. I know that because I have a Sagittarius brother as well.
Before I no longer do it.
I have a Sagittarius brother, so that's why I know so well.
I know,
it's very difficult. Very difficult for him. He doesn't even like go home in time. I mean on time. Doesn't even go to work on time. So it's hard to keep promises, you know. Okay, you have 1 minute now, and time's up.
Sure.
Describe a time you made a promise to someone, please.
There was a time about 2 years ago. I think until now I have to keep a promise that I used to declare that I was proud, ideologically a conservative. So I think it was the kind of promise that can be very controversial somehow to many people because it can change somehow. And that promise was made on my Facebook account, and most of the people, 100 friends saw that post, and they know that I am the conservative. At a time, it can be very dangerous and difficult for me to keep the promise because if I just make any other declaration that can be opposite to what I declare, I will be labeled as a double standard person.
Double standard. Tiêu chuẩn kép. Double standard.
Yeah, exactly, double standard person. That's why, after making that promise, even though I do not regret making a promise, but I found that it's very difficult to keep my mouth from any declaration that I make. And the reason why I make that announcement just because I was supporting an incumbent presidential candidate at the time.
Okay.
That thought it was just a kind of just announcement of supporting someone. But I didn't know that it's now very, very important for my connections right now because if I actually change my way, somehow I can lose some friends from that. And
better lose some friends by then than later. You know, when you are honest, basically a lot of people will leave you, but the one who stay are actually true friends, so I would prefer that even. Sometimes being honest will keep you like good friends with you.
Sure.
And they understand you more. But then fake people will just fly away like fleas, you know. Bay mất như là ruồi báo kiến đạo thôi. Fly away like fleas. Anyway.
Exactly.
Now, so what kinds of promises do people often make?
I think generally most people would love to make the marriage promise.
Marriage promise.
Because you know, like generally, human tends to pursue the happiness when they are young, and they always try to keep their, like, let's say, fiance or just the sole partners for the whole life. And therefore, they just try to make the promise of marriage early. And after all, I don't think that they are going to keep a promise for so long because psychologically, young people tend to make the pursuit of happiness very early. But when they are having the happiness, they will tend to look for the freedom of that. And the happiness somehow in marriage can be very responsible for every individual. Therefore,
can be what? Can be what?
Responsible.
Có thể can be responsible for their what?
Every individual.
You mean it can depends on every individual? You mean?
No, I'm not saying pain. I'm saying just responsible, like just personal responsibility in marriage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of promises in marriage that people do not keep. Like for example.
Yeah.
Like for example, ask for others' opinion. Of course, a lot of the time they don't do that.
Yeah.
And show respect as well. A lot of couples, after a while, they stopped showing respect to each other. And that is really bad. How about listen? They don't listen, right?
Yeah, they don't.
They stop listening to each other.
Yeah, they don't want to listen.
And then no respect. And then basically they stop being polite. They become very rude after a while, you know. That's why marriage ends in a lot of struggles and divorce.
I know, because the time before marriage, there's a gentleman can be looking very nice, the nice suit, but after
look your best. There, look at that. Look your best. You don't look your best after a while.
When you go home with me.
This is very hard to look your best, really. I mean, you cannot remain good looking after a while.
Exactly. And you cannot keep a good smell after a while.
Ugh, disgusting. So it means some couple, they become, they smell bad after a while. Is that what you're saying?
Because, you know, like every single dating meetings, they tend to use perfume, or they prepare so well about that. But after, you know, going home together, they're not going to take care of those things anymore.
And that's bad. Keeping hygiene is very important in a relationship.
I know.
Remember that. Okay, now, so do parents in Vietnam make promise to their children?
Yes. I think most parents in Vietnam, they can be making a lot of promises to their children. For example, most of Vietnamese parents, they tend to make the promise that they are not going to be angry if their children say the truth. So after the children say any truth or any, like let's say problems, and those parents mostly break the promise, they will tend to be very angry, and they think that like being angry is the way to keep children. But there's another consequence that can happen, that the children will tend to stay away from telling the truth to their parents, because they found that it can be dangerous to tell the truth. Therefore, I think parents in Vietnam can make a promise, but keep the promise.
But it's hard for them to keep their promises, right?
Yeah, it's hard for them to keep promises.
Like, oh wait, you were talking about telling the truth. You were adopted. Telling the kid that you were adopted. Oh my god.
Wait.
You know, a lot of the Vietnamese mothers, they keep telling the child that, oh my god, I picked you up from the trash bin. Or you were adopted. You were not my children.
That's a very dangerous statement.
You should never do that. It hurts.
That's a very stupid way to do that. I'm saying about stupid.
It is stupid. Anyway, like talking about promises to children, do children keep their promises as well, you think?
I think the children should be trained to keep the promises. because I understand that a children can be too young to keep promise and they can break promise anytime.
So training is required, right?
Yeah, so they should be trained to keep promise.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would be the premise for themselves to be a responsible citizen in society in the future. And
trust me.
Yeah, they should be understanding the personal responsibility for the society somehow when
they should.
Yeah, when they grow older.
Of course, but a lot of people in our society, even though they are older, they do not keep their promises. They lie to each other all the time.
Because they're not trained so well. They were not trained so well.
Oh damn. Like for example, students do not go to class early, do not do exercises, and things like that. You know, lack of commitment.
Yeah.
Basically, lack of commitment, keeping people from keeping their promises, I think.
Can you say again?
I think a lack of commitment to the job, to the work, to the study or something makes people fail to keep their promises, I think. Like for example, if a student is not very committed,
because the standards can be so hard for them to do that in their ability. Yeah, somehow because
but if that is higher than their ability to fulfill that promise, then they should not promise in the first place. You know.
So like there's a huge difference between the commitment and the promise right here. The commitment is imposed by someone who actually create the higher standard than the people that they are assigned to do. So they just impose the commitment on the others and say you have to do this, you have to do that. But they cannot be sure that in their ability, how can they know they can fulfill that, right?
Interesting. Okay, anyway. So why do people fail to keep their promises? What do you think?
I think there are two sides of this situation. Like I told you about, firstly, I will talk about a commitment. And most people they think that like they cannot finish the commitment that they promised to finish because somehow, for example, the student are imposed to commit that they will, let's say, go to school on time, or finish the homework, or just study all chapters for the reviews for the next day.
But basically that's not promising. Basically that's not promises because you are forced to do that.
Yes, that is not promises. That is the commitment imposed by the teachers.
Exactly. That is not promises.
And they make the children to promise to do the commitment.
Exactly.
Therefore,
so I think that's something else.
There would be a huge failure for that. But the other side, but the other side, let's say, in society, people tend to promise to, let's say, marry to the fiance, something like that. Well, like I told you, the pursuit of happiness can happen very early, but the pursuit of freedom will happen after having your happiness.
The more promises, the more disappointment.
Sure.
Càng hứa càng nhiều, thất hứa càng nhiều, thất vọng càng nhiều. Anyway, I think that's good for today. And you have any questions? More questions about this topic or no? We can just end here.
I think that's a good practice today, even though I made some mistake at the beginning of the time. And
don't worry about it. The general thing is you did well. The whole thing is you did well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, good. Now, okay, thank you so much for watching. Cảm ơn các bạn đã theo dõi nha. Okay, so please leave a comment below. Các bạn để tin nhắn ở bên dưới cái video này nha. Okay, các bạn hãy nhấn vào nút like, chia sẻ video này với bạn bè các bạn. Nhấn vào nút cái đăng ký kênh YouTube mình và cái nút cái chuông kế bên cạnh đăng ký kênh đó để mà các bạn có thể được thông báo những video mới nha. Các bạn cũng có thể bấm vào nút nút mà theo dõi, follow Facebook mình nhưng đừng kết bạn Facebook mình nha. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share this video with your friends. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and press on the bell button next to the subscribe button so you can get notified about my new uploads. You can also follow my Facebook, but please, for God's sake, do not add me as friends on Facebook. Thank you and bye bye. See you. Good night.